I am now in a very special city for one particular reason. This is my birth city. This is Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta is the capital and most populous city in Georgia, and there are around 6 million people that live here. There are a few little tidbits I thought you might find interesting, one of which you probably already know, that in 1996 this was the site of the Summer Olympics. The Capitol building actually has 43 ounces of pure gold on its dome. During the Civil War, this whole city was actually burned to the ground and then rebuilt afterwards, which is showing the true testament of the spirit that is here in Atlanta. This is actually the birthplace of the civil rights, and interesting enough, the world's busiest airport is here in Atlanta at Hartsfield International Airport. So there's lots to do here, lots to see, lots of cool history here. So now let's go explore this great city. On the east side of Atlanta is an area called Little Five Points, and it's this really cool alternative area. And this right here is actually kind of an alternative shop. They have things like incense or spiked necklaces and bracelets or anything that's a little bit more on the alternative scene, including music and other things like that. So this is really cool to go to. There's a place called the Vortex, as well as just some cool murals that are around here, such as Dali, Outcast, and some other ones. So this is a really cool place to check out, Little Five Points. I am standing in front of this memorial, and there is a building which is right here, and unfortunately it is closed. It is a visitor center that you can go and visit and learn about Martin Luther King Jr. and civil rights, but mostly this is his neighborhood. And so there is a whole area around here, such as the church that he taught in and some other things that I'm going to go and check out and I'm going to show you here. But one of the things that's really cool that I was able to see is just right over here on the sidewalk is a walk of fame. And they have all the big names such as Rosa Parks, even Jimmy Carter and Lyndon B. Johnson, as well as a lot of big names that were people who helped stand for or stand with civil rights, and that's really cool to see. But I am now going to go walk around this neighborhood of Martin Luther King Jr. Behind me here is Ebenezer Baptist Church, and this is actually where Martin Luther King Jr. was a co-pastor. What's really interesting is this is about 2 blocks from where he was born, and all around this area here is where you can see so many landmarks of his birth home, the church that he pastored in, as well as where he and his wife are both buried. It's a beautiful area that they have called a reflecting pool, and it's beautiful to see. And on top of that is where Martin Luther King Jr. and his wife Coretta Scott were both laid to rest. And so this whole area is just really, really interesting. The road behind me here is called Auburn Ave, and they nicknamed it Sweet Auburn Walk, as it was an area before desegregation that people could have all Black owned businesses such as grocery stores and shops and doctors, and they could feel so at home. They didn't have to worry about being hassled for anything. And so they now have created this whole area around here that you can explore and see where Martin Luther King Jr. grew up, where he started to explore himself as a pastor, and where he is finally laid to rest. So this whole area is just really, really fascinating to see here in Atlanta. I am by this little sign right here, Tiny Door ATL. This is short for Atlanta. And what's really cute is there is a artist who decided to do all these little teeny tiny doors all over Atlanta. But this one here is her only large door. And as you can even see right there, there's the door handle. Let me scoot back so you can see it a bit more. but it's huge. And the reason why she did these all over Atlanta was just to have some kind of little artwork that everyone can feel the exact same thing. The ones that are really tiny are 7 inches tall. Unfortunately, I forget how tall this one is, but it is having the same experience that nobody can fit inside of the small doors, and obviously this one is too large. One of the cutest ones I've seen so far is actually at a pet shop, and it is a little kitty going into the door. And one of the cute things was a video I saw with the artist. She said that when she first started this, that she didn't think anybody had even noticed, but one day she went out and there was all these little plastic kittens that were sitting outside of the door, and she realized that people really loved this, and so she started becoming really well known, and now she has this project where you can follow the tiny doors. There are maps of where they all are, and they're just a really creative way to explore the city. This area that I'm walking on right here is called the Atlanta Beltline, and it is a really great place. As you can see, it's a really wide path. It actually runs 22 miles through the city, kind of curves in and out, but it does go pretty far north and is a nice path that you can just kind of walk or skateboard or ride your bike on. It's very safe, and it goes beside a lot of really cool buildings, artwork, and some really great stuff that they have done to decorate the side of this Atlanta Beltline. This area beside me here is a part of the Atlanta Beltline, and what's interesting about it is that it kind of looks like the Berlin Wall and how they've graffitied it. Or even when I was in Northern Ireland and Belfast, they have a wall separating the Protestants and Catholics, and they have also graffitied that. But this doesn't have such a dark past. This is actually just a wall separating a railroad line that's just on the other side here from the pedestrians and the homes that are here. And a way to make this a lot prettier in the area was to hire people to actually make professional graffiti. And this is in an area called Cabbagetown that you can come, and there's actually a map that's about a mile long where you can walk and see all of this. I'm in a park right now called Piedmont Park, and for me it's kind of the central park of Atlanta. They have basketball court, trails. It's 185 acres that are here, and they have this big beautiful what's called the active oval here, and has this really great view of the downtown area. So this is just a really great place to come walk around, take your scooter, sit down, relax, and just enjoy the area here. Atlanta does have a lot of parks though, and that's very impressive that depending on what part of town you live in, you do have a nice park nearby. But this one is definitely huge and kind of the epitome of a great park. As you can see, I'm standing here at the Capitol building. I wanted to show you something really quickly. This statue here is actually my great-great-great-grandfather. I don't know how many greats that is. This is Joseph E. Brown and his wife, and he was actually the governor during the Civil War, and they thought he did such an exceptional job. They went ahead and put a statue here, and there are several things in the state of Georgia that are for Joseph E. Brown. I think there's a Brown University and a couple other things that I saw online. So I wanted to show you that one of my relatives is here at the state capitol. Not everyone is going to know this, but there is a very famous product that is all over the world called Coca-Cola, and it got its start here in Atlanta. This is the World of Coke Museum, and you can go and learn all about Coca-Cola, how it got its start, and a lot of different things about it. So just a quick run through. This actually started in 1892 by a chemist. He was kind of going for something else, realized it tasted good, and started selling it. It became so popular that they decided to go ahead and bottle it and put it out to the public. And it's really interesting because you can actually see the original bottles and how they have changed over time. You can also see this robot that picks up, sanitizes the bottles and puts them in order, waiting for the liquid that's going to go inside. They show a bunch of Coke paraphernalia from all over the world, including in those languages. And one of the most amazing things that they have here is a room called Taste It, where you can actually taste different Coke products from all over the world, including Malawi, Sweden, Germany, China, Panama, and many more. The one thing that's really interesting with the Taste It exhibit is that you don't always know what color of liquid is going to come out. So you push the button and sometimes it'll come out as brown, clear, or red. Sometimes they're very sweet and sometimes they are more bitter. but it is really, really cool just to be able to try those and get to experience Coke products from around the world. So I cannot recommend this enough. I think it's $18 to come in, but it is definitely well worth it. This here behind me is the Center for Civil and Human Rights, and it is really interesting. They have 3 levels and they have different exhibits that are here. One of the things is that this does have a floor that is dedicated to Martin Luther King Jr. and civil rights. What was interesting was one of the stories that they mentioned, and it was that when Martin Luther King Jr. won the Nobel Peace Prize, almost no one in Atlanta, as far as businessmen and local celebrities, no one wanted to support him because they were white, he was black, and they just didn't want to get involved with all of that. A couple of the high ups in Coca-Cola basically called on Atlanta business people to stand up and to stop being wimps for what they were doing. They basically said, we don't know if we even want Atlanta to be a part of where we have our headquarters anymore. And they said within a few hours, a dinner in support of Martin Luther King Jr. was sold out. And I thought that was a really cool story of just kind of how some people had to get involved and how successful it was. Atlanta definitely had their problems with segregation and things like that, but they did talk about how they were a little bit more progressive as much as they could. And sometimes they do have free weekends or free days, so make sure and check that out. I was able to come to a free day, but I went ahead and donated some money anyway just because this is a great museum and well worth the money. Real quick, this place behind me here is called the Varsity. It has been around since 1928 and is quite a staple here in Atlanta. They are a burger joint, so anything you can think of as kind of greasy food, this is the place to come to. But they have these cute little red hats with white wording that says the Varsity on it that the employees wear, and you can actually get for you and your family if you would like. This is a really fun place to come to. Their claim to fame is that they are the largest drive-in restaurant in the world and that they can seat up to 800 people. If you don't believe it, you have to come check it out for yourself. This place behind me is called Illuminarium. This just opened in July of 2021. It's about $35 to go in, but basically there are 2 big rooms and you walk into one and it's kind of a holding place until they are ready to let you into the second one. Then you do stay in there, I think they said for about 32 minutes, and they have this light show that tell a story and show different scenes. The one that's on right now is Winter Wonderland. They said the one they opened with was a safari one. And so they have different ones, so check when you want to come visit. They might have one that you really want to see, but it's coming later. So this is really unique. And for anyone who is slightly a Christmas lover, the Winter Wonderland one was really incredible. All of the sounds and colors and little animals that they have. And once you walk into the second room, there is just tons to see. I am going to try to show you 2 different clips that they had. One was Aurora Borealis, and the other one was just of some singing and the beautiful forest and different things like that they had. But this was really, really well worth the money. And if you can, come support these guys as they're brand new. This is Illuminarium. If you're in Atlanta and are stuck for any reason at the Atlanta airport, I have a recommendation for you. Come just on the outskirts of the airport and there is this museum that's here, which is the Delta Airlines Museum. Inside these 2 buildings here, you can see a lot of paraphernalia from the beginning of the 1920s when Delta was actually an airline to help weed out the boll weevil that was destroying lots of crops. And then over time, it became the commercial success that we know today. In addition to the planes that they have inside here, including being able to walk through a 767, there is this other little tiny little plane, 1 second here, that's in the background. And this is actually the 747 that you see here. And you're able to walk inside that as well, sit in first class, which I had to do. because I'll probably never be able to do that in my real life. But this is really a great thing to do, to see kids, family, adults. I saw more adults than I did kids actually, but it's only $15 and that is almost cheap in my opinion. So like I said, if you have an extra second, definitely come down here and check this out. Even people that aren't crazy about flights, this is really, really well done.
Raise the landing gear after departure. The tower is giving us instructions. Get ready for takeoff.
I thought this might be a little bit iconic to get the end of the 747 as the end of my video. I hope you've enjoyed it.